So, I pulled the video from last week outlining the oil issues. The reason why. I believe a man is only defined by his actions. I think that in itself is powerful. I live my life by something very simple. Facta non verba. Actions, not words. Well, I screwed up. And the only way that I can fix that is by giving you the truth that I found out this week. That's what we're going to get into today. So, we're going to go on a little drive right now. Take old girl out. We got some more miles to get on her. Well, we got to do it the old school style, man. You know, like every other YouTuber. We're going to get you a cold start. Everybody keeps continually asking me about how the AFE catless pipe sound. We do have a small exhaust leak. We believe it's one of the gaskets right off the manifold. Not a giant deal. We're keeping the car under 3,000 RPM right now. So, again, not a big deal. But here's your cold start. Know there's a couple of you right now going, rev it. Never rev a cold engine ever. It's fucking horrible. One of my biggest pet peeves I see YouTubers do all the time is they'll start a car and just wong wong wong. You're like, yeah, and you're scarring the block. Good job. So let's go for a drive and let's talk about my fuck up. This is stupid, but the way my driveway's set up, it's like inverted, like I was showing you guys on the Shine Armor review, and it shows that my fuel tank is still quite a bit up there, even though we've been driving the car. Maybe something to look into later. But we're also going to talk about fuel today too, because that's a big portion of what's going on. Anyway, so 74 PSI. Then we're going to put it in gear. You're going to hear it clunk. My converter is extremely tight, so don't worry about that clunk, but here. 70, 69. Nice. Alright, let's pull on out. We're going old school today. This is the cell phone because it's mounted and I can talk and drive. So, we're going to do that. So, obviously, that video, I mean, it was just a whirlwind of shit going on after that. Well, I started reaching out and talking to multiple people, and multiple people kind of reached back out to me, and it was a very heated thing between me and Codeword Flamethrower. And posting that video, I got an amazing response. Again, thank everybody for the support. But when I'm wrong, I'm man enough to admit I'm wrong. Well, I was wrong. Now, before we go berserk and oh my god, we have to throw away anything 86 Weeks Ever Since again, you do need to run a different oil if you're under a boost application. Now, that is between you and your tuner. I'm not going to sit here and recommend what oil you use because I don't want to be liable if you're wrong or if I'm wrong. What I am, however, going to do is this. Hit your tuner up, find out what he wants you to do, run with that. Simple. At the end of the day, you guys make the numbers you make based off of his recommendations. Boom. But where I did screw up, okay? I watched a couple of my older videos, and in the older videos I noticed a couple of different things going on, and the video that I'm referring to is the one where I was getting her tuned, and I started thinking back to some of the details from that day. Jesus. And one of the things I noticed in the video was my AFR. From my understanding, and again, take it with a grain of salt, I'm not mechanically inclined, but from my understanding, you always want your AFR to stay 12.5 or above and not go too rich, but if you go below that, you're leaning out the engine, and that's always going to be dangerous. Okay? Right now, currently we're in 4th gear. Well, I noticed on that video, over multiple runs, I saw my AFR drop down to 1107, which is leaning the car out. The reason why it's leaning the car out is what I thought was injectors. the injectors that come with the rip kit, they're fine. What is happening, however, though, is I'm running out of fuel pump. And because of that, it's pushing my fuel system at 97% duty cycle, which is extremely high. Usually you don't want your duty cycle to go above 80% just to keep everything safe. Now, with that, there's also a fundamental flaw in the Pentastar design. Some see it as a flaw, some love it. It is good for boost, but it's also a massive pain in the ass for boost all at the same time. What I'm referring to is the port velocity head. Okay, so for those of you who don't quite remember what a port velocity head is, on a regular engine, you have 3 exhaust ports coming off the head. What this does is it usually goes to some kind of header, forces it out through the exhaust. Well, the way that ours is designed on the 3.6 Pentastar is you have 3 exhaust ports that feed into one exhaust exit to a singular pipe. Okay, it's called port velocity. And what port velocity does is also increases your MPG. It makes the engine run a little more efficiently. It's so that I've read. Again, could be wrong. Who knows? It happened to me. The problem with that is under a boosted application, somebody's calling up my ass and I don't know why, just being an asshole. Under a boosted application, what happens is you increase tenfold the amount of air that goes in your engine. You increase the amount of fuel. Now, with that increase in air and fuel, you need to get spent exhaust out as fast as possible. Okay, so I'm backing up. But you need to get that all out as absolutely fast as possible. Okay, so the way that an engine works, and like I've said multiple times now in this video, could be wrong, you have piston, you have your spark plug, you have an injector, you have 2 cams. We have a variable valve timing on here, so we have an intake cam and an exhaust cam. The timing has to be correct. That way, as a piston's coming up, it's pushing exhaust out, and as it starts to go back down, it introduces fuel and forces it down, creating horsepower. Problem with a boosted application such as mine at this point is we are creating a lot of exhaust, CO2, and instead of it getting pushed out efficiently, we are keeping quite a bit of CO2 in the cylinder. Okay, now what happens is you have that CO2 in the cylinder, you put oxygen in there and then fuel, and it's trying to compress all of it at the same time. When you're trying to compress all of it, like air and fuel, that's fine, shoot it, piston's good, shouldn't have any detonation issues. But when you have unspent CO2, or you have spent CO2, excuse me, in the cylinder, that creates a pressure problem. Okay, and cylinder pressure will lead to things breaking. This is what we think happened to my engine. And what I mean by that is CO2 and oxygen and fuel all mixed in the engine, trying to chase a horsepower number on a stock fuel system without cams through a port velocity head with cats. We overpressurized the cylinder, it popped. Once it popped, it introduced coolant to the system. Once coolant was introduced to the system, we started bending rods, and we're at today. Now, the whole thing with flamethrower, I fucked up. Okay, and what I mean by that is I allowed the pressure of everything to get to me. By pressure of everything, I mean you guys. I don't want to let you guys down. I want the car back up. I want the car running. I know a lot of you actually are very interested in this and watch it. I want you to be able to enjoy everything that I'm doing as well. So if you have questions, I should be able to help. 3, there are certain companies, and I know they watch my videos because they throw cheap shots. I'm just going to say stay humble. And to the company that I'm talking about, congratulations. I'm glad you got your 12-1. I'll see you soon. It's all about good competition. That's what racing's about. That's what makes it fun for everybody. But I let that get into my head. I got into my head that I wanted the car running. I wanted to race. We're missing the entire racing season throughout the summer. I let all these pressures build. And then the whole correspondence from Flamethrower to other owners, it kind of all came to a head. And then our correspondence was through email instead of talking on the phone. And I took somebody's language and the way they were speaking as being condescending. It pissed me off. I released info of what I thought to be true at the time. Don't think I was doing that maliciously. I don't ever want anything to happen to Flamethrower's company. Fuck the whole Flamethrower thing. I don't want anything to happen to RIP Superchargers. Okay? So I pulled the video. I love RIP. I love the company. I don't have a problem with the company. What I thought we had an issue with was speaking down to me and a lack of integrity as far as the oil. Now, we've talked. Me and RIP are good. We talked back and forth, and we figured some things out. We had some understandings, and all is good. But what kind of man would I be if I didn't own what I did wrong and fix it? So, the oil thing, hey, talk to your respective tuners. They should get you the proper oil weight. Shouldn't be an issue. But what happened to mine, we were not pushing exhaust out correctly. Due to that happening, we overpressurized the cylinder, thus cracking it, introducing coolant to the engine, which actually bent the rods. Now, as far as the scarring and everything on the bearings, that is a heat issue. I also live in Texas. I was running 5W20. Now I know better. Hey, people have been racing for like 100 years, and everybody runs a different oil. And you know what? This week with the whole oil conundrum, and as long as the video was up, it was ridiculous the amount of like fight back I was getting. No, you're on a 10W50. No, you're on a 530. No, you need this oil. I'm like, holy shit. Okay, so not trying to deal with that anymore. So the whole point of this is I've been chasing things and horsepower numbers, and because of that, we got a little too aggressive. It happens, and we popped my stock engine doing so. Now, moving forward, I either need to do a fuel pump. Got to figure out which one to do. I need custom grind cams, but the problem is I need 4 of them. I need an intake and an exhaust cam VVT because it's dual overhead cam engine, which is just a pain in the ass. One of the things that's good though is I now have the AFE catless pipes on here, which should help some of the restriction and help fix circulation and get exhaust out faster. Because if like the cats are just a dam on your exhaust system. We have gotten past the point of, yeah, race car, it's fun, let's go play on the street. And we've really gotten to the point of like it just being science, and I have to rely on people way smarter than me to get where we want to go. Now, the next moves are obviously I got to keep breaking this thing in. I'm going to continue to talk to my guys at RIP, see what we can do as far as like either a fuel system, cams, tuning, whatever we got to do. And then I'm pretty sure my next race will be November 22nd at Race Wars, where I will be racing her Stingray, my girl, and her C7 Corvette. She called me out, so we will be putting on her 2-inch headers, her X pipe, teaching her how to do a burnout. You're welcome. And then yeah, we're going to be racing at Race Wars in front of that crowd. So obviously it goes without saying what I hope to accomplish during that race. If I beat her, cool. If not, cool, whatever. That's not exactly what I'm worried about doing. What I'm worried about doing is accomplishing more than what I currently have. Always moving forward. So for the company that tried to be cute, I'll say it. Me and the owner of that company spoke this week too, and I think bygones are bygones. You're right. Stay humble. As a man, if you can't admit your mistakes, you're too prideful. That's my views on everything. So there it is, guys. I had to come out clean to everybody. I don't want there to be any misconception. I don't want there to be any confusion. RIP is an amazing company. Just understand that emo correspondence get confusing very quickly, and they saw it from my perspective. I saw it from theirs, and the relationship's good, and we move forward. So let's just go do fast things. That's how I feel at this point. I appreciate y'all. If you want to call me a fucking idiot, do it in the comments. That's fine. I deserve it. Thanks to every single one of you for being along for the ride. Let's God, this sounds weird, but let's take this car to the next stage of its life. I appreciate all of you. As always, like, share. Please consider subscribing. I'm not going to make you subscribe. And stay savage. Have a good night.